Welcome to ParadoxWalk podcast, specializing in paranormal activity, UFOs, cryptids, glitches in the Matrix, any strange and out of the ordinary reports. It is March 25th, 2023. This is episode 26. This will be about very strange reports, not just from kids reporting and remembering being able to do really strange things at a very young age, like 5 years old, but reports from parents as well that have seen kids do unexplainable things, seemingly having like mind over matter powers. The first thing that I came across when I was looking these things up is people saying that they remember being able to glide down sets of stairs, like floating down them. And the way I found this was going to Quora.com, typing in I remember floating or flying down the steps as a child, or I phrased it something like that. It lets people type out answers. And I didn't just find one of these. I found like more than I could even like go through, like hundreds of people saying that they've had these types of things. I'll just read an example. And this is some of the answers. I too have very clear memories of flying as a child. It was more like hovering. I would run in place very quickly until I lifted off the ground. Sometimes I would go high enough to pull leaves off of trees. I would get to a certain point and come down. I remember feeling scared that if I went any higher, I would lose control and crash land. Strange. There's so much of my childhood that is a blur, but I remember this like it was real. There's another answer. I distinctly remember flying down the stairs at a very young age, and my brother remembers watching me do it. So there's a lot of these where people, like brothers and sisters and parents and stuff, say that they've seen their kid do these things. And there's other things too, like I'll get into it later, but my mother remembers us being convinced and swearing, and then they put in parentheses, swearing to God and crying because she didn't believe us. We both still remember it. I remember the feeling. I have no clue why, and I know that it's probably impossible. But that's the thing, is that other people have seen this happen. There's a bunch of these where it's grandparents and people asking them to stop or something like that, like when they're doing these weird things. I find this interesting because I too have a memory in which I know I was awake without question at all, and other people were around me. I remember being about 6 or 7 and stepping into a small kindergarten-sized table, and I turned around and I stepped into, I think it means onto, the back of a chair and started crawling into the air. And I made it about a foot, but I was suspended longer than the laws of physics allows for. I imagined that I was climbing into the hands of God. Years later at school, a teacher said it's impossible to fly, and I told her she was wrong in front of the class and tried to demonstrate what I'd done before, failing, but it made a good laugh. And then this one answered, remember that this is like a question, so the person says, because we did. I remember I would be outside and I would start walking up invisible stairs, and that's how I would start it. I would fly up to the tops of trees, and I was always scared that I would get in trouble if my parents caught me, so I would come back down before anyone saw me. A strange thing is that I did it once as an adult. I don't remember the circumstances, but I was zooming around at work and I thought, I'm going to get fired if someone notices my feet aren't on the floor. Now, I'm not sure if the one as an adult was a dream or what, but I know for sure as a kid it was real. I think we are all capable still, but we've been fluorinated and brainwashed, and they get into like pineal glands and stuff. I don't know about all that, so it's got to be more than just like because I remember when I saw Superman, and I don't know if this is like a kid's thing, but I thought because of the cape he could fly. So I thought if I put a towel like down the back of my shirt and I put an S on it, that if I jumped off of something that I would fly. And I was like 4 years old, and wouldn't that make it so if it's just us believing it that we would be able to do it? So it's got to be something more than that, because obviously I didn't fly. Like, I don't have any memories like this, but it has to be more than just someone believing they can do it, right? So some of the ones that I've come across where parents see it. So This is just from memory. I don't know if I had recorded it somewhere and I lost it, but you can find this like if you go through like glitch in the matrix things and start reading about like some parents like talking about kids stuff like this was a husband and wife watching a movie, and they have like a 5-year-old that went to bed early. And this is like from the dad's point of view. He said that they were watching a movie and then it was like 10 or 11 at night, and their boy came out of his room and walked into the bathroom, and from the angle of the hallway and the way the TV was set up, they could see him leave and go back when he would do that. Well, this one time, the husband and wife were watching a movie and the boy walks into the bathroom and never comes out. So the dad like pauses the movie and walks over to the bathroom and like, I don't know, he like opens the door and no one's in there. And so the husband and wife go to the room, and the boy is like climbing into the bed and like pulling the covers over him. And the dad was like, "Hey, hey son, like we just saw you go to the bathroom and never come out." And the boy says this to the dad, like, "I know, Dad, I didn't feel like walking back, so I just blinked." And he's like, "What?" And the kid says, "Sometimes when I don't feel like, I think he said something like, sometimes when I'm tired and I don't feel like walking back, I just blink and I'm back in my room if I want to be." And the husband and wife were like, "Well, we never saw him go back." So he couldn't like explain it because the kid was just like, "Oh, I just like kind of just wish myself there, or just blink it and I'm there." So this is another one where two sisters, or a brother and a twin sister, I know like maybe they're fraternal twins. So this is one. As a small child around the age of 4, I remember being able to jump into the air, thrust my legs back, and use my arms to fly through the air. This was not only in my room, but I also remember doing this as well with my mom walking down the street. What is even weirder, my twin sister remembers doing the same thing, but instead of doing a Superman pose and flying, she could just float in the air. I don't understand why my sister and I remember doing these things. If anyone has any answers, please tell me. This happened to me too. I was about 4 or 5 and I remember playing around doing my thing, and then I said, "I will now fly." So I laid on my tummy and I started to lift up. And I got scared, like, oh crap, it worked. And I fell back to the floor. I was never able to do it again. Was it my imagination? Maybe I was dreaming. I don't think so. But at least I'm glad I'm not the only one. I can also fly in my lucid dreams pretty easily by jumping. It's a really nice feeling. Now that's the thing, like, a lot of people have lucid dreams, and we don't get that confused with, being able to do something as a kid or like days as a kid, right? I mean, that's not something that you get mixed up. I remember being up in the air on multiple occasions. When I got around the level of electrical lines, I got scared. I forgot all of this until recently. I had a memory of not flying but levitating to the ceiling at my grandmother's house, and she told me not to do it anywhere else and never do it outside. And on top of that, I've been dreaming of levitating nightly for about 2 years. Like, there's a bunch of these. I swear I climbed invisible steps and I was floating in the air. Okay, this is another one where a parent saw it or something. Let me see. Okay, this is another one about floating down the stairs. Like, instead of what this is like, instead of just walking down the stairs, I guess a bunch of people remember just being able to just like float down them. I never heard of this until recently, so this is what made me look it up and do this kind of like episode or whatever. So this is another one where they saw it. So I remember floating down the stairs and flying up them until the age of 5, and I thought that was just how stairs worked. Until one afternoon, my mother saw me float down while eating a cookie. She flipped, and I was afraid of her displeasure. When we moved to a house with a different staircase, it didn't work again. I have always missed the freedom of moving that way. So that's weird. I remember this like it was yesterday. I would get up and go down the stairs, get to the middle of the stairs, and remember seeing a light and then float to the bottom. It happened nearly every day. I was awake the whole time. I remember being tired though, but definitely awake. I remember floating downstairs as a very young child. One vivid memory is when I was 4. My mom and I were waiting for my grandfather to get off of work in the building where he worked. I went to play in the stairwell. It began as I tried jumping to the landing from 2 steps up. Instead of normal speed of falling, I just floated down. I tried it again from a step higher and then again until I was jumping off the top step, maybe 10 steps up and floating all the way down. I have memories or very realistic dreams of this happening multiple times. And then they talk about at some age it stopped or something. So yes, it really did happen to me when I was 5. I was surprised and it thrilled me so much that I told my mom immediately, who then informed me that it also happened to her at age 5. It always seems to happen with young children. Strange. This never happened to me. None of this stuff. I guess I don't have that superpower. So, yeah, I mean, I'm just going to do a short episode on this. There was another one where a girl talked about being at a party where their parents were all at, like some kind of barbecue or something, and the girl says to her, "Hey, come over here, I gotta show you something." And then they both go like around a corner or something, and she said, "Close your eyes and open them again." And they both like blinked, and she said when she opened her eyes, it was like they were on a whole nother planet. Like the sky was different, the ground was different, the party was gone. It was like they were like both girls went to a whole nother place. And then she said like blink again and we'll be back. And then they like both blinked and they came back to the normal world. Crazy stuff, right? So I'd like to thank everybody for checking out the podcast. My Patreon is patreon.com/ParadoxWalk. Music is Downbeat 88. The opening track is called The Dark. The ending track is called Moment of Peace. I'd like to thank my first Patreon, Roxy. Remember to click the RSS feed and you can just have every episode. It's like a subscription button or something for podcast software. So it's also on Amazon, Spotify. It's on Pandora now. Apple Podcasts, I believe. I don't know. And BitChute. I don't know how long it'll be on YouTube, but it's on YouTube as of March of 2023. So hope you guys are doing good. Talk to you soon. Bye.